You know that feeling when you finally see your bank account hit a number that once felt impossibly far away. Maybe it's $20,000. Maybe it's just a dream you've been inching toward for months, or even years. And for a moment you feel lighter. There's relief, maybe a quiet sense of pride. But then almost immediately, something shifts. Your brain starts noticing things differently. The pressure of bills, the fear of unexpected expenses, even your plans for the future, they all feel amplified somehow. It's strange, isn't it? You'd think having more money would make everything easier, simpler even. But often it doesn't. It changes the game in ways most people never expect. And today, I want to talk about why that is. Here's the thing most people don't realize. The struggles with money don't disappear just because you reach a milestone. $20,000 is a kind of psychological tipping point. Not because it's magic, not because it makes you rich, but because it's the first time money starts behaving differently in your mind. We grow up thinking that money is linear, right? Earn more, spend more, save a little, repeat. But that's a trap. It lulls you into thinking that once you have enough, the stress evaporates. That if you just cross some invisible threshold, life suddenly makes sense. And then, when you actually get there, you notice something subtle. Money doesn't just give freedom, it magnifies your anxieties, your decisions, your priorities. So if you've ever felt like you finally got ahead, only to find yourself more aware of what you could lose than what you've gained, you're not failing. You're just bumping into a truth most people never talk about. Money doesn't solve your psychology, it highlights it. Let's break it down. What happens after $20,000? Well, first, your mind starts categorizing money differently. Before $20,000, a $50 emergency might feel catastrophic because it's a chunk of your whole life. You're in survival mode, every dollar matters. But after you hit that milestone, your mental accounting shifts. Suddenly, small emergencies don't scare you the same way. That's a good thing. But there's a flip side. You also start noticing all the opportunities you've never had access to before. Maybe you see an investment that seems smart. Maybe there's a course, or a gadget, or a trip that could help your life. Suddenly, the pressure isn't just about paying bills. It's about making the right choices with this new money. And here's the tricky part. Our brains aren't great at handling that kind of freedom. We weren't designed to make complex financial decisions under the weight of potential, so stress shifts rather than disappears. Psychologists call this the wealth paradox. It's not about being rich or poor. It's about thresholds. At $20,000, you're at the point where scarcity eases just enough to let long-term worries surface. The question becomes, am I spending wisely? Am I saving enough? Could I lose this? Before, you couldn't even ask these questions. Survival was too loud. Now, survival quiets down, and anxiety sneaks in disguised as decision-making. And it's not just your mind. Your relationships start to feel different too. You might notice friends or family reacting to your financial milestone differently, even subtly. Some people are supportive, but others unconsciously test your boundaries, or even your sense of self-worth. Suddenly, your money isn't just numbers in a bank, it's a social signal, a source of expectation, a silent conversation in every interaction. There's also the pressure of comparison. When you hit $20,000, you start noticing benchmarks, the posts online, the lifestyles that were once invisible. You begin comparing your progress to people who are already $50,000, $100,000 ahead. That comparison is sneaky because it feels like motivation, but it's actually a subtle form of stress. And here's the kicker. Even though your reality is objectively better, your mind interprets it as not enough yet. Here's another psychological layer. Money at this level starts to highlight choice fatigue. Before, your choices were mostly, can I pay rent? Or do I eat out or at home? After $20,000, every small decision carries weight. Do you invest, save, or spend? Which opportunity will compound over time? And you realize that each choice feels irreversible, even though, in reality, nothing is permanent. And yet, despite all this subtle pressure, this is also the point where real freedom begins. Because once you understand the patterns, the ways your mind reacts, you can start steering instead of being steered. This is why $20,000 is pivotal. It's the first time you can make real, intentional decisions about your future rather than reacting purely to scarcity. So here's the mindset shift that changes everything. Stop thinking of $20,000 as a finish line. Think of it as the start of a new kind of financial awareness. Instead of asking, how do I get more? Start asking, how do I feel about what I have? Instead of measuring success by the balance in your bank account, measure it by clarity and calmness. When you make this shift, money stops being a stressor and starts being a tool. Not because the number itself matters, but because you've learned to. Notice your mental reactions, your impulses, and your anxieties. You start seeing patterns. You notice when spending is emotional, when saving is fear-driven, when investment decisions are ego-driven. The change is subtle but profound. At this point, money becomes less about chasing freedom and more about understanding yourself. It becomes a mirror reflecting your priorities, your insecurities, and your aspirations. And the interesting part, once you treat it this way, you actually start making better decisions that aren't just financially sound, but emotionally intelligent. Now, what does that look like in practice? Let's keep it real. First, acknowledge the shift. Don't pretend nothing changed after hitting $20,000. Recognize that your mental map of money is evolving. Journaling or just pausing to reflect on your feelings can reveal a lot about your unconscious priorities. Second, be intentional with your choices. You don't need to overhaul your life or invest in the next big thing immediately. Small decisions compound. Even just deciding to allocate a portion of your funds mindfully, whether it's saving, investing, or learning, sets the stage for long-term stability. Third, notice social dynamics. Money changes relationships subtly. Keep awareness of how others react, and more importantly, how you react to them. Set boundaries gently and give yourself permission to protect your peace. Fourth, embrace curiosity over comparison. It's tempting to benchmark your progress against someone else's life, but the stress this creates isn't productive. Focus on your own map of success, not someone else's. Finally, remember that money is a tool, not a measure of your worth. $20,000 isn't the point where life suddenly makes sense. It's a checkpoint on the road to understanding yourself and your values more clearly. Treat it that way, and you start building a foundation that compounds far beyond dollars. So, what's the takeaway? Hitting $20,000 isn't just a financial milestone, it's a psychological one. It forces you to confront your fears, your desires, and your habits in ways that you couldn't before. And yes, it can be uncomfortable. That's normal. That's growth. But it's also exciting, because this is where real freedom begins, not freedom from money, but freedom through awareness. You're no longer at the mercy of scarcity. You're learning to navigate abundance responsibly, calmly, and thoughtfully. And that skill, that clarity, will serve you far beyond any number in your bank account. So the next time you hit a milestone, pause. Take a breath. Notice how you feel, how the world feels around you. Let your choices reflect your values, not your fears. And remember, progress beats perfection. Every small decision compounds into the life you want if you stay aware and intentional. And somewhere along the way, you'll notice something remarkable. Money stops being scary and starts being exactly what it's meant to be, a tool to live your life on your own terms.